Hi, John. I'm very excited to interview you. I hope you don't think I'm lame, but I had to wear these because when else am I going to have the opportunity to wear?
Ah, that's so cool. Okay.
I was like, is it going to be weird if I wear my John Oates earring to the
No,
John Oates interview? But I figured I'd just go for it.
I think you made a good choice. After all this time, nothing is too weird for me. So, yeah.
Good point. Good point. Well, there's so much I want to talk about, but we'll start with the serious stuff and obviously the most important stuff, which is the Oates Song Fest event you're doing for Feeding America. It's a big all-star concert for obviously a very worthy cause. So why don't and it looks like you have a lot of notes behind you.
Yeah.
Those might be all the phone numbers of all the
It is.
all-star people.
That's the show run right there.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna
Yeah,
blow
yeah.
that up real big. So it looks like there's a lot happening. That's a full schedule right there.
It went from being just a kind of a casual idea into a full blown, almost 3 hour show at this point. We were trying to keep it at 2 hours, but we got so many incredible contributions from artists that we kept saying, "Oh, this is so great! This is so great!" And we kept adding and adding. I hope people want to stick around for 3 hours because I have to say, I've seen some of these. I've seen actually all of the videos that have been submitted, and they're phenomenal. At first we told, a couple of our friends, reached out to some friends, musician friends, and said, just do a casual iPhone video on the couch, no problem, make it real simple. And everyone took it to a whole other level. And some of the stuff is quite frankly, it's really moving, and it's really I'm honored that people would take enough time and care enough to really put something out there of really high quality. So the show is going to be interesting, and it's got a lot of diversity, and yeah.
So tell me more about Feeding America. Obviously, food insecurity has been an issue in this country for a very long time, well before 2020, but, really came to a head for a lot of people who hadn't experienced before
Yeah.
when they lost their jobs or when there was like no food in the grocery stores because people were,
Yes.
and et cetera. So tell me about the cause and why it's important to you.
Well, my wife and I have been contributing to Feeding America, just personally, over a period of time. And it really, during this last, during the 2020, and being home for the first time in my entire professional career, really the
Hmm.
longest I've ever been not traveling. We started being much more aware of, the news, and as probably all of us were watching things closely. And I got to the point where I kept saying, I can't believe that in a country like ours that people don't have food. It doesn't make any sense to me. I couldn't make that work in my head. And so we said, maybe we could do more. I thought maybe we could do more. I have the time. It's not like I'm that busy. I can focus on other things other than myself, look outside of ourselves. And we just latched on to the idea of trying to do a very casual event that could maybe help. And we teamed up with Nugs.tv, who are a great streaming service partner. And then as the idea took on a life of its own and more people began to sign on, I realized it was bigger than my wife and I could handle on our own. We brought in a great production team called Drive Entertainment, who do a lot of big TV network charity shows and things like that, award shows. And so they were really, we absolutely needed them. And so now we have this incredible team of, and I will say, of mostly women. In fact, I think I'm the only guy in the house.
So it's going to be
So
great, obviously.
that's
Clearly,
right.
it's
It's
in
going to
good
be great.
hands.
It is in very good hands, and I have to say I'm totally, I'm just along for the ride. And but it's a great team, and we're working together really well, and I'm very proud of what we've put together.
Well, John, if you would indulge me for a moment, you said nothing can get too weird, but this actually is relevant because it's weird because it's my earring. It's a home video
Yeah.
and it was directed by a woman. And so I've been waiting forever to ask you about the She's Gone music video because
Oh,
I know that I remember in your Behind the Music, the Daryl Hall and John Oates Behind the Music, you sort of said some of your music videos you look back on and kind of cringe or go, oh, that was very 81 or whatever. And obviously you were the big, the biggest year for the duo was the year MTV started in terms of chart success. So like you were all over MTV, but well before MTV,
yes.
you got like by almost a decade, you guys made the She's Gone video. And it's my understanding quite rightfully so that it is your favorite music video that you guys ever did.
I can't speak for Daryl, but I'll speak for myself. Yes, it
It's
is absolutely
genius.
my favorite.
It's
You know
genius.
what? Do you want to hear the backstory on that one? Okay.
Yes.
Bring it. All right.
Bring it
Well,
on.
what happened? you have to put yourself in the context of the time. It was 1973. There was no MTV. There were really no music videos being played. A few. Um, what happened was there was a teenage dance show. We had done the Abandoned Luncheonette album. Our single was "She's Gone."
Mhm.
There was a teenage dance show in Atlantic City, New Jersey, at the Steel Pier. Are you an East Coast person or?
No, I'm in LA, but
Okay.
my mother's from Boston. I have
All
some
right.
East Coast
Well,
ties.
the Steel Pier was a kind of an amusement thing that stuck out into the ocean in Atlantic City, and
Okay.
they had all sorts of things there. Anyway, it was a Saturday teenage dance show with a disc jockey. Disc jockey would play the hits of the day. The kids would dance, and it was a very Philadelphia thing. They wanted us to go on and lip sync our hit single, "She's Gone." And we were like, we can't lip sync "She's Gone" for teenage dancing. It just didn't compute. So one night, sitting in our apartment that we were sharing in New York City, Daryl and I said, let's just do something crazy. Let's take our furniture from our apartment. My sister was a film student at Temple University. The girl you see walking across the video is Sarah from Sarah Smile. And the devil, the guy in the devil suit, is our tour manager, Randy Hoffman, who is now John Mellencamp's tour manager. Anyway,
Okay.
so we brought our little team down to Philadelphia, and we showed up at the local television station. They fully expected us to show up and pretend to sing our song. And we showed up with chairs and props and all this stuff, bathrobes and blah blah blah. And they didn't know what to make of us, and they thought we were mocking them, and they got really pissed off. The union crew, the cameramen, and all, they were like, and so here's this 20-year-old girl who's a film student with a script that we had all written together.
There was
And
a script. Do you still
oh
have
yeah,
the script?
no, maybe my sister has it. I'd have
Belongs
to
in a
ask.
museum.
But so she walks into the control room, and they're like, oh, what is happening here? And she starts telling these guys what we're doing. So we proceed to do what and if you haven't seen it, I guess you need to see it before you'll
Yeah.
know what we're talking about.
Everybody pause, go watch it, come back.
And come back. Yeah.
Because it's hard to
Well,
explain.
and just from my point of view, I was wearing a rented penguin suit that had flippers instead of hands. And Daryl's wearing a black bathrobe. And so anyway, so we did the video, and they hit the ceiling. They thought we were mocking them. They thought, who are these stupid young hippies who are doing this thing, right? And they refused to play it. They did not play it on the show. And they called our record company, and they said they're going to ban us from Philadelphia radio. They would never play us again. Your careers are over. Oh, it was a big deal. And our record company was like, what did you guys do? You ruined your, and we were laughing all the way. I mean, we just thought it was the most hysterical thing we'd ever done. And so to this day, I think it's really a work of performance art in a sense.
It really is. So, but you did lip sync a little bit. Daryl did not, but I call you, like, your vocals, you did sort of get on board with the lip syncing thing.
Well, yeah, I gave it a line or two, but Daryl didn't open his mouth the whole time.
Do you still have the penguin outfit? That belongs in a museum too.
Well, yeah, you're right. I wish I had it. We rented it from some costume store in New York City.
It was kind of like, if I pull my sleeves
Yeah,
down,
yeah, that's right.
I actually didn't plan to wear a shirt with long sleeves, but yeah, you had like long sleeves, and you're like playing
they ended in big flippers. So when I did the guitar solo, I just went like this, and the flippers wrapped around the guitar neck.
You literally look like this.
Thank you. Yes.
I didn't plan that. I planned the earrings. I didn't plan the shirt, but it was pretty punk rock thing to do.
Well, pre-punk rock actually, but yeah.
So it did not air at that time. My recollection is that even though so many other of your videos were on MTV in the 80s, I do not recall them playing She's Gone, not even when they were doing like their classic rock flashback. When did people finally get to see this? Did they see it in 73, or was it like not until many years later?
No one ever saw it for the entire decade of the 70s. It wasn't until YouTube began that we actually said, we've got to post this thing. I always had a copy of it. So once there was a platform for us to put things up, the first thing I said was, we've got to get the She's Gone video out into the world. And yeah, I'm really glad that that people can actually check it out.
So you're the one that leaked it or posted it. It was
I don't
you.
know. Sure, I'll take credit for it.
You
No,
should.
probably not. But Daryl and I both wanted people to see it. It's just a matter of having a moment to do it, or a place to do it.
I think it inspired Between Two Ferns. It looks like that.
I hope so.
It
I hope it
has.
inspired anything.
Do you get? I mean, obviously, it made an impression on me. I'm talking about it. I didn't obviously see it back in the day because I didn't have
Right.
the opportunity. I probably, yeah, the internet. If there's one good thing the internet is for, it's so that people could finally see the She's Gone video. What reaction did you get from fans? Because by the time it came out, it was in this world of viral videos and homemade videos where people would. It was very ahead of its time. Now people would get it. They would understand what you were trying
Right.
to do.
Well, I'm glad we were ahead of our time in a sense, in one way. The people who get it love it, and the people who don't, I guess they just don't.
They're
I
wrong.
don't know what else to say.
I feel like you should recreate it with some all-stars on the Song Fest thing. Get the chairs, rent the penguin suit.
Maybe one of these days, Daryl and I will revisit the idea. You never know.
If you
But it
did
was a
that on
moment in
stage,
time. It's a moment in time, and sometimes you just can't recapture stuff like that.
well, it's a moment in time forever on YouTube, for which I'm whether it was you, I'm winking, or whoever put it up there, thank you for your service, for doing the Lord's work. I do want to ask you about one other video that MTV did play a lot, because it doesn't feel like Christmas to me until I see both Jingle Bell Rocks. Both.
Okay. Yes.
And it
Thank
was
you.
like seeing a unicorn back in the day, because, MTV did play the Daryl version a bit
Of
more.
course. Yeah.
But when it was very exciting when I was watching MTV and the John version would come on, it was like, oh my
Ah,
God.
the
And
B
there's,
side, the secret B side.
well,
Yes.
you know what? I do a podcast called Totally 80s with Rhino Records, and we talked about it for our Christmas episode, and we both agreed that we preferred the John version. So
That's why they make vanilla and chocolate.
what was up with the fact that you did? I mean, obviously there were two vocals, but to do two different videos was kind of ambitious at that time.
Well, because I'm kind of a rockabilly guy, even more than Daryl, and I just wanted to sing it. It was a song that I sang as a kid, and I said, "Hey, I want to sing this too." And so we just made two versions. And that's the entire '80s Hall and Oates band. That's the band that we toured with: G.E. Smith, T-Bone Walk, Charlie DeChant, and our manager at the time, Tommy Mottola, the infamous Tommy Mottola. He
Yeah.
was Santa Claus, which is metaphorically correct, especially in those days. Yeah.
I did not know that.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Do you have any other fun memory? Like, I know that I remember, like I said, I watched the behind the music where you say at some of your videos that Daryl Hall and John Oates did. You look back at it and go, but this one was obviously meant to be camp. Like, you're
Yes.
super overacting and being like, oh my God, like, you must have some fun memories of doing that video.
Yeah, we wanted to make it very cartoonish, and I think we succeeded. Absolutely, the colors, the clothes. G.E. Smith is dressed as a grandmother. I mean, it's we actually had a lot of fun making that video.
It's a Christmas gift that keeps on giving.
There you go.
In general, just because we're talking about MTV and video stuff, like I said, the Hall and Oates era, that was the Daryl Hall and John Oates era, that was the biggest in terms of you dominating the charts, was 1981. It coincided right with MTV coming out we're coming up on the 40th anniversary of MTV this year, which is
Wow.
great. I know, August
Amazing.
1st, 1981. Crazy,
Really
right?
amazing.
But you guys had all, obviously been around for a while. Like we were talking about She's Gone being in 1973. You guys had been around for a while. And there were certain bands of the 70s that transitioned very well to the MTV pop thing. You guys, ZZ Top were another one. There were others that didn't, either because they just couldn't figure it out or they just didn't want to.
Yeah.
They were resistant to it or thought it was a fad or whatever. So if you could talk to me a little bit about, you guys really embraced it and became as big as the younger guys, like, the Duran Durans and stuff. You were right there. Did you know, even going back to the She's Gone 73 thing, like, okay, music video, something we need to get on board with?
Well, we were always, visually oriented. I mean, the whole, our whole career. But I think what happened was we were friends with the folks who started MTV.
Oh.
We were in the same circle of friends in business and socially. And, they were saying, hey, we're going to do this new thing. It's, we're going to have a music video channel. And they said, you guys need to make a music video. And our response was, what's a music video? And they said, well, you just lip sync your song. Hey, we're right back to She's Gone. Um, and we really didn't know. If you look at our first video, which was Private Eyes,
Mm.
um, all it's very bare bones. It's a black curtain. We're wearing the silly Private Eyes trench coats and fedoras and jumping around in front of a camera, one camera, basically. If you look at the Rolling Stones video, the one that they did the exact same thing as us in the same room. Black curtain with Mick and those guys jumping around in front of a black curtain. No one thought of it as a visual art form the way it, as it evolved with Madonna and Michael Jackson, et cetera, et cetera. It was really just, in fact, that night that we did the Private Eyes video, we were scheduled to leave on tour. We were doing our final rehearsal at a place called SIR, Studio Instrument Rentals on 54th Street in Manhattan. And the tour bus was on the curb idling. It was really late because we had finished our rehearsals, probably midnight, I guess. They came in with the cameras, put the black curtain up. We put the trench coats on, and we jumped around in front of the camera, took the trench coats off, got on the bus, and went on tour.
Are you kidding me?
Just like that. And that was, we never thought twice about it.
How many minutes was that? Did you do it in like?
Oh, we probably did a few takes. We did a few. I'll tell you a funny thing. If you want to watch that video closely next time you see it. T-Bone Walk, our bass player, had just joined the band. He had never done a music video. He was very shy on camera. And he said to me, hey, what do I do? What do I do? And I said, don't do anything. I said, stand still. And every once in a while, just turn your head and go like this. Watch the video and you'll see him. He just stands there, and every once in a while he just goes like this. It's hysterical.
Sometimes less is more. Sometimes less is more. Did the She's Gone video, just one more question I thought about that. Did you do that in one take? How many takes did you do of the She's Gone video?
Oh, that was one take. Absolutely. They kicked us out. They literally kicked us out of the television studio. They hated us. They thought we were mocking them and that we were making fun of them and everything. They didn't get it, but it was a different time.
You got it in one take, sometimes the first take is the best. Since we're speaking about visuals and also about people from the 70s that transitioned to MTV, I would love to hear the story about when you toured or opened for David Bowie back when he first came to the US. I think a lot of people might not know about that or might be surprised by that billing.
I believe it was 73 or 74. I can't remember. It was the Ziggy Stardust. It was his first show on the American tour. And it was in Memphis at a theater in Memphis. I had been a fan of Bowie from his Hunky Dory album, the album that preceded that. And, which was very kind of singer-songwriter, experimental, artsy. And I loved that album. I thought it was really, really great. So I had no idea that Ziggy Stardust was his next incarnation. No one did, really. And at the time, Daryl and I were doing our show, which was it was kind of acoustic. It was singer-songwriter. And I thought, I understood why it would be us and David Bowie, because I assumed that he was doing Hunky Dory.
Oh, yeah.
Little did I know. So we played our show, which was very, as I said, low-key, quiet, acoustic-y. And then I went out into the house to the soundboard because I wanted to watch his show. And then there was smoke and strobe lights and the 2001 Space Odyssey theme, which is what they used for their walk on. Wow. And he appeared with the orange hair and the platforms and the the jumps, the lame jumpsuit. And I was like, whoa. I said, what just happened? How did this? I had no idea. It hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, okay, something's happening here. And I watched that show and I was like, how did this guy go from that to that? And I was impressed, needless to say. And I don't even think the audience knew what to do. They loved it, but they were blown away because it was heavy. It was heavy and loud and big and outrageous. And I have to say, I think I came, and I won't speak for Daryl on this, but after that show, I came away thinking we need to notch up the energy on our show. I mean, obviously we weren't going to try to do what he did, but it was time for us to take it to another level. And we did. We notched up the energy. We began playing more aggressively and stuff like that. So because I just it definitely it made an impression on me, no doubt.
Well, isn't it true there's a connection with, I don't know if this, how soon later this happened, but the makeup that David Bowie did, like the famous makeup with like,
Yeah.
the medallion on his, or,
Yeah,
the gold circle on his forehead. Didn't you use that makeup artist for what is known as the Silver Album, which I
that's
have to
right.
say was a good look. You guys looked fierce. I thought it was a good
Okay.
look, but I know some people like look at that album now and go, "That's Daryl Hall and John Oates, like all like Barbizon model looking." But I thought it was a good look.
Well, first of all, it didn't match the music that was inside the record. That's the first thing being said. However, if you take that in the context of the time, look at Rick Derringer, Todd Rundgren, Mick Jagger. They were all. It was this glam rock thing that was sweeping the Greenwich Village. We lived in the Village. We were part of that whole scene, and we met this guy named Pierre LaRoche, who is the makeup artist who was responsible for Bowie and all the other guys as well. And I'll never forget. We wanted to look. We wanted to have. Wanted to be more cutting edge. We wanted to be. We were in New York City, living that whole world. And I remember we had dinner with him because we were discussing what we were going to do. And I remember his only comment was, "I will immortalize you." And he was French. He was very flamboyant, and he was, "I will immortalize you." And we were like, "Okay, sure, man, whatever you want to do." And so that's what happened. And to be honest with you, it's probably the only album cover that anyone ever asks us about in our entire career. So I guess he succeeded.
I could ask about others like the H2O where you're like about to box.
Well, yeah,
That's
they
a
do.
good one.
That's a strong album cover. That's a good one.
That's a good one too. But was that the only time you guys rocked that makeup look, or did that become part of
Pretty.
your show?
No, well, that's the only time we rocked it on the album cover. But we did start to play. We all had these Ronald Kaloji jumpsuits. There was this guy named Ronald Kaloji. He was a very hip fashion designer in New York City at the time, and he made these jumpsuits. They were kind of military, but like highly styled. And so the whole band wore white jumpsuits, and Daryl and I wore black jumpsuits, and we played a whole tour with those on.
Strong look. Well, you talked
Yeah.
about amping up your show and making it more aggressive. And, as you mentioned earlier, up until the pandemic happened, you toured all the time. You're a huge touring act. And I'm wondering if there's a time when I feel like in the last 10 to 5 years, there's been a bit of a Daryl Hall and John Oates renaissance, touring with different acts like Tears for Fears and Train, earrings becoming available for sale. You got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I probably ordered those wrong. Probably the Hall of Fame is more important than the earrings. But my point is, I think there was a time when maybe, and I don't mean this in any shady way, but you were not getting the respect that I feel you deserve, and that turned around absolutely in a major way. Do you remember seeing a point? Was it when you put the She's Gone video on YouTube? Maybe that was when it happened. But in all seriousness, when did you start to feel that tide turn? Because I definitely think there was a shift.
I think it had to do with a whole bunch of factors. I think the worldwide shift to the digital format, to the virtual music delivery system,
Mm,
whereby people could get any kind of music they wanted, anytime they wanted, anywhere. And the breakdown of the old paradigm of the big record companies in collusion with radio stations, uh, all dictating to music fans what they were going to hear. You basically turned on the radio, and whatever the big record companies were feeding radio is what they were going to feed the music fan. Once that broke down, and the real music lovers, and especially a younger generation, could pick from the entire history of music. I think it was a one element that made a big difference. I think the other element was that Daryl started his show Live from Daryl's House,
mhm.
began to bring in a lot of young artists to collaborate with, who in turn spread the word to their fan bases. I think that was a very important component to it. And I began to do things with in the world of jam bands. Been playing with guys like My Morning Jacket, doing Bonnaroo, Super Jam, and I began to to lean into that world, in the world of Americana and roots music,
Mm.
and all those things in total began to spread the word of, and people began to look back to Hall and Oates. The younger generation said, wait a minute, who are these guys? Wait a minute, they did this and now they're doing this. And I think that's what happened. Then, of course, being inducted in the Songwriters Hall of Fame, and then shortly thereafter, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, that's really, then that pushed it over the edge.
Do you think the fact that your music's been sampled a lot has anything to do with it? I mean,
Yeah.
obviously De La Soul is
Yes.
a while back, but there's the XX and Kanye. I think
Sure.
Biggie did at one time. Like, are there
Yep.
certain sampling things that you think sort of broke you to a new audience?
All of those things, when they, incrementally, if you put them all together, they create this awareness that it grows in terms of intensity, and it expands, but it's even more important that it expands to different age groups, different music tastes, and we have a lot of variety in our music. And I think that there's a lot there for people to latch onto. They just didn't know it.
Is there a specific sample, or I'll open up the question, sample or just use of your song in pop culture, whether it's a cover version or use in a film or TV show, whatever? Is there a certain pop culture moment that you really like?
Well, I think the 500 Days of Summer use of "You Make My Dreams Come True," I
Mm-hmm.
think that launched that song to the stratosphere.
Mm-hmm.
That song just hit 1 billion streams,
Oh, wow.
and
Congrats.
yeah, and it's interesting. That song actually wasn't one of our bigger hits. It was a hit, but I think it went to number 4 or something like that. It wasn't a big number one record.
I just want
Now,
to point out that you just said a song that went to number 4 wasn't a big hit. That puts into
well,
perspective how big
well,
of
put it in the context of what we were doing in
right.
the 80s when we had 6 or 7 number ones in a row. Well, I don't mean to denigrate
No,
that
I just
song
think
in
it's
any way.
funny.
It's, yeah, but it's just, now it's crazy. It's the 300-pound gorilla in the room. I mean, you hear it everywhere. Everybody uses it. It's in commercials, movies, you name it. It's everywhere. The song has really just transcended itself. It's absolutely incredible.
Is that the one you get like now that when you're touring for the younger fans that are coming to see you, is that the one that gets like the biggest response?
Well, let's put it this way. It's in our encore.
What about new music from you guys? I really like the song Philly Forget Me Not that you did. I think it's been about almost 3 years ago was when you did
Yeah.
that tour. And obviously homage to your hometown and stuff. Is there that was the first time you guys had done new music together in some time, right?
Yeah, that was a song that Pat brought to the table from Train. He and Daryl latched onto it. It was really, for me, it was a song that was a really cool thing to do, to promote our tour with Train. That's what it felt like to me. Didn't feel like, hey, this is a new Hall and Oates song. It just felt like, kind of, let's do something together to show that we're on the road together. Daryl and I were going to start recording before the pandemic closed us out. But in the meantime, I've been writing and recording constantly. And in fact, I'm debuting a new song at the end of the Song Fest show, the song that I just wrote. And I've got an EDM version of Maneater coming out on Friday the 19th.
Hold the phone.
Oh
What?
yeah, I exclusive.
I'm so
And
excited.
it's a collaboration with Sasquatch.
What?
Yes.
Oh my God, how exciting.
So Sasquatch and I have done an EDM version of Maneater. It's going to be in the Song Festival as well, but it's being released by Monster Cat on Friday, March 19th, as a standalone EDM single, and it's amazing, if I do say so myself.
I can't imagine how it wouldn't be amazing. It's the bones of the song alone. I mean, did you like Miley Cyrus's cover when
Oh,
she did it
I
recently?
loved it. Miley's a rocker, man. I like the way she just, it was fierce and strong. Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that song keeps showing, as other songs of yours do, keeps showing up everywhere. The Rottweiler on The Masked Singer, who ended up being Chris Daughtry, sang it.
I didn't see that one. I
Yeah, that
missed
was
that.
good. It was good. I was
The
excited.
Rottweiler. It's always good to have a Rottweiler singing your song, right?
Well, he got to second place. He couldn't beat Wayne Brady, but he got to second place. And I think Maneater had a respectable showing. It's further than he got on American Idol, so
Right.
Maneater probably had something to do with it. But this EDM thing really intrigues me. Is that a space? Because you talked about being in the jam band space. Is the EDM thing something you want to get more into?
Yes, it is. And in fact, I am. I've dipped my toe in the water, but now I've got one whole leg in the water. What happened was my wife introduced me to Sasquatch on Instagram, and we became obsessed with watching his videos. And then we reached out to him and we talked about doing a collab, and we did Maneater, and it came out so good that we decided. I asked him if he would co-host the song festival with me. So Sasquatch and I are co-hosting the Song Fest on March 20th. And we have some very, let's put it this way, entertaining interludes in between the performances.
I'm very excited for that. What else can you tell me about the EDM stuff? Are you thinking it's going to be Daryl Hall and John Oates, other songs that lend itself to that format? Or are you thinking about doing like
No, it'll be
originals?
all original stuff. I think this is something more that I'll be doing. I'm working with not only Sasquatch, with some other DJs as well, to come up with just some original material in that space. I had an EDM single out about 2 years ago called Baby Be Real with a guy named Wolfgang Gartner, who's
Okay.
a pretty well-known DJ producer. And that did pretty well. But, it's fun for me because I can approach it from a different point of view as a songwriter. I don't have to do everything. Like when I pick up a guitar and I'm going to write a song, I'm basically starting from scratch. I'm coming up with chords, melody, rhythm, groove, whatever. But with EDM, usually I get these tracks. People will send me these cool tracks, and it just whole new ideas just start happening. And so it's a way to be creative without feeling like I have to be responsible for everything.
What else are you working on? I heard there's a movie soundtrack or
Yeah.
score that you're working on.
Yeah, a very good friend of mine is the director of a new movie called Gringa, which is coming out in spring or summer. It's a great indie film, and it has to do with a young girl from Southern California whose father had kind of checked out a long time ago. And she lives with her mother, but her mother unfortunately dies in a car accident, and she's left on her own. She has nowhere to go, nowhere to live, puts a backpack on, and goes to Mexico to try to find her estranged father. And when she gets there, she finds he's a surf bum and he's a drunk, and things don't go too well. But in the greatest of all Hollywood traditions, it turns out good in the end.
Spoiler
Uh,
alert.
yes, spoiler alert. But in the meantime, this good friend of mine who directed it asked me if I wanted to try to contribute a song, and I wrote a song. He sent me a clip. I wrote a song. He loved it, and he said, "Do you want to do more?" And I said, it was during COVID, and I said, "Yeah, I got a lot of time on my hands. Let's go." My wife found this great hip hop artist named Servon Campbell on here again on Instagram. My wife kind of trolls Instagram for me, as you can probably tell by now. And he had come up with this really cool idea, and I heard it and I thought, wow, this could be something. And we reached out, we began to collaborate, and we developed his idea into a song. And do you have time for a quick story about it?
Yeah, please.
The song is called DND, Do Not Disturb. And it's kind of a progressive hip hop rap thing. I don't know how to describe it, but it's very cool. And I didn't know what we were going to do with it. I just liked it. And so I called the director and I said, I've got this other song that I did with this guy. I don't know if it's right for the movie. It's a little bit off, left of center. He goes, let me hear it. So I sent him the song. He calls me back and he goes, you're not going to believe this. He goes, I'm going to send you a clip from the beginning of the movie, because I hadn't really only seen a very short bit of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So he sends me a clip, and it's the clip when the girl wakes up after her mother has died. She's all alone in the condo. She wakes up and she's wearing a shirt that says DND. And I got chills. I went, he goes, how did you know that? I said, I had no idea. I said,
Wow.
he goes, this is unbelievable. He goes, I love this song. He goes, it perfectly fits this moment. I was like, okay. And that was the beginning. Then I've got 5 songs in the movie. Did another one with a great singer-songwriter named Daphne Willis, who's in LA. Actually, I met her in Nashville, but she's in LA now. And another song with a great Mexican female singer named Jimena Sariana. We did, and we actually sang in Spanish. It was the first time I ever got to sing in Spanish. So The film is great. It was a great experience for me to be able to write with a real purpose and a real point of view. And yeah, so it's a lot of good stuff happening.
So are any of those songs going to get premiered on the Oates Song Fest thing you're doing?
No, no, but we're gonna do a Spotify takeover, playlist takeover, and I'm gonna put some of those Gringa songs into that.
Very cool. So the event that's happening in the Oates Song Fest on March 20th, we've
Yes.
already established there's going to be the premiere of the EDM Maneater
Yep.
and a recreation of the She's Gone video with special
Not quite.
guests.
Not quite. I know
Maybe
as
next
much.
year.
Yes, yes, next year.
You need time to plan. It's
Now
hard
that
to
you put
find
it in
penguin suits this time of
right.
year. I
Yeah,
understand.
we have to prepare for this. Is not something you just, roll out.
Maybe wait until 2023 when it's the anniversary, the 50th anniversary of that
Now
video,
there's a good idea.
which shows you how ahead of its time it was. But what else, in all seriousness, can we expect from the event in terms of who's performing and how all that?
Well, the list of performers is fantastic. And it keeps growing and growing. Lyle Lovett just got a hold of me the other day. He wants to be involved. We're working on a great vintage clip from the Ed Sullivan Show of Smokey Robinson and the Miracles singing Yesterday.
Nice.
And it's amazing. Daryl Hall is doing a great solo song called I'm in a Philly Mood, which is one of my favorite songs that he's ever done. Dave Grohl does this incredible thing where it's just him and an acoustic guitar, and he tells a 6-minute story of how he wrote Everlong.
Oh, wow.
then he plays it. It's fantastic. We've got Keb Mo, we've got I'm losing Sarah Bareilles. I'll do it justice if I forget anybody. Jim James, Sammy Hagar, Michael McDonald, Darius Rucker, Infinity Song, great young band out of New York. Another great new band called Lewis York that live outside of Nashville. They're in it. Sean Colvin. It's Jewel. I'm gonna do someone. Someone's gonna hate me if I forget to name their
It's okay.
names.
We'll blow it up the background behind
Please
you.
please
it's all
do.
there.
And what I really love about this is that they really went out of their way to do something special. No one just phoned it in, so to speak. Originally, I thought, let's not put too much pressure on people with a big ask. Let's just say, hey, get your iPhone out, play a song on your couch, and all of a sudden, people took it to another level. So it's almost 3 hours long, and Sasquatch and I are doing stuff in between, and we've got these great celebrity folks like Mike Wolf from American Pickers and a guy named The Professor who does basketball tricks. It's really going to be an entertaining, cool show.
Well, you've always been ahead of your time video-wise, as I've well established from the thread that came through the video. So I'm sure everything you do is going to be visually dazzling and also for a great cause. And people can check it out on nugs. Tell all the details. Nugs.tv.
Nugs.tv. And we will have a QR code. And we will also have a URL that you can click on, and it will take you right there to donate. And by the way, I think it's important to say that it's totally free. This is not a pay-per-view show. This is totally free. We want everyone to be able to watch it with no restrictions. And we just hope that people will donate and feel compelled and moved enough to help Feeding America.
Well, how could they not after speaking with you? You're such a wonderful interview. And
thanks.
If they watch this, they'll be opening the wallet. So thank you so much for indulging me with all my fashion choices and silly questions.
If you flatter your guest right from the beginning, how can we go wrong, right?
It could have gone either way. I'm glad it went the way I wanted. I was like ready to sort of take it out if you were like, okay, crazy person, but it worked out well. And I really enjoyed speaking with you. And thank you for putting together this great event for such a great cause as well.
Thanks very much. It was great. Real pleasure. Thank you.